right, yo, what up, everybody? Welcome inside Sportstopia Fantasy Fire and Ice NFL Edition. Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, the homie Jovan. Joe, what's going on with you, my man?
I'm doing good. How's everything going on your end?
That's a lot going on, Jovan, to be honest with you. I'll get into that in a second, but first, I wanted to check the temperature in the city of brotherly love. You know what I'm saying? I see, what was I watching last night? I think I must have fell asleep on the SEC network. I was trying to get a peek at the LSU. It was basketball media day. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Their SEC basketball media day, and I kind of dozed off on it, and I woke up, hoping to see the LSU team, and I woke up to Dawn Staley. You know what I'm saying? And Dawn Staley was just at the Barclays Center the night before. You know what I mean? So,
yes.
Private jet, fast turnaround. Dawn Staley representing the city of brotherly love. And how are you feeling right now? What is the status of the Philadelphia Phillies?
The Phillies or the Eagles?
Yeah, let's start with the Phillies.
Okay. All right.
You feel pretty good about the Phillies?
Yeah, I mean,
we got plenty of time to talk football.
Yeah, I know. I think the Phillies, I mean, they just had an off night at the plate. You got to give credit to Brandon Pfaadt, the pitcher for the Diamondbacks. He was on his game. Phillies bats just did not come through, swinging at a lot of stuff in the dirt. But I think the pulse of the Phillies fans, I think they're calm. They were more annoyed at yesterday's results. They're not like panicking, like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. They might lose this series. I think they're pretty much like they're even kill right now.
Cool. What's the status of the Philadelphia 76ers? A little bit different. Different.
Let me tell you, nobody in the city is paying attention to them right now. Yeah, right. It's like, oh, all right, they got a new coach. James Harden thing is going on. Hey, at least we got Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Wake me up when the playoffs start, type of thing.
Very good. And the status of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, the sky was falling on Sunday. It was the sky was falling, everything. The Jalen Hurts regression hit pieces were out in full force.
Wasn't by me.
I know it wasn't.
Wasn't by me. I went on the record earlier this year, Jovan. You'd be proud of me. I went on the record and said he's the best quarterback in the NFL. I've come a long way.
You have. You're starting to come around a little bit. We've gotten you away from the Mac Jones hype and everything.
All right, relax. Good times. So listen, just did the basketball show earlier. Shout out to Noah and Steve. That's up right now on Sportstopia YouTube. If you got a basketball draft this weekend with the season starting next week, you may want to go check that out. Also, obviously, sportstopia.io. You can hit up the website right now. Dr. Ray got rankings and tiers and all of that good stuff to get you ready for your fantasy basketball draft. If you're not familiar with Dr. Ray, Steve Alexander, he is FSWA Hall of Fame worthy fantasy basketball analyst. You know what I'm saying? So definitely check in. He's made a life of it. But let's get ready to hop in here and discuss some football. And I was going through my emails, and I'm actually glad Ed sent this over, because I wanted to, in the thought process of talking about last night's game, I wanted to jump in on this situation with Calvin Ridley. I remember week 1, I played the under on Calvin Ridley's props. And I said to myself, well, that was stupid. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because he went off, I think, for like 100.
He went off. I told you, I don't know if you heard this. He looked like, the animated thing that they got the animated robot Fox got running across the screen?
Yeah.
That's how he looked when he was running in week 1. Now, he runs like how he ran that last season in Atlanta. Like, am I tripping, or has Ridley not going back to Ridley that was being called the WR1 in Atlanta with Julio Jones there? He looked like Ridley from that last season in Atlanta when, he had the mental health thing and he had to step away for a while. He looks like that player. Or am I tripping? Or am I making an overreaction to I guess Calvin Ridley being, I don't want to say a bust, but a disappointment so far this season?
I think what has happened is I think because we didn't see him for a whole season, and then he comes back and he starts off like, just shoot out a cannon, like he's just looking fresh. Yeah, he's just looking fresh and playing well. Now he's starting, teams are starting to figure it out, pick it up. Like, okay, like we're going to put our best corner on him, and we're gonna bracket our coverage and make somebody else beat you, right? And last night it was okay. Ridley's not doing anything, but luckily for the Jaguars, they have a nice complement of receivers. The Evan Ingrams, the Christian Kirks, where they can kind of depend on. But from a fantasy perspective, you have to be a little bit concerned just because it's been. If you just look at his stats, been just a bunch of highs and lows, right? You mentioned week 1 he goes off, but then Kansas City, Houston, Atlanta, he's pretty much a no-show despite getting targets. He goes off against Buffalo, but then Indianapolis, 4 for 30, and then last night, 1 for 5. I mean, I know a lot of people probably drafted him early enough in leagues because based off the situation the team he's playing on, the weapons around to be that consistent number 1 option, wide receiver 1, but he's been more of like a 2, 3, depending on
he was
how
drafted
your
as a
roster
1
is.
though.
Right, and that's the problem. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people are seeing this season. They've drafted a lot of players in that wide receiver 1, running back 1 situation, and they haven't lived up to those expectations.
Now, on the other side, last year, I was all over Travis Etienne. Etienne this, Etienne that. I'm going for Etienne. You know what I'm saying? The foot injury in the rookie season. But, I watched plenty of Dabo Sweeney and Clemson and stuff like that. And I know the type of player, type of explosive player the young man is. And I was like, man, he's the best player offensively on the Jaguars, in my opinion, last year. But he don't score no touchdowns. Modest draft ADP this year. And of course, the fantasy executive doesn't have 1 share, Jovan. And now, every time I turn the TV on,
he scored a touchdown.
He's doing the icky shuffle. You know what I'm saying? What the hell is going on? Shout out to the guys who went back in on Travis Etienne after really not lighting it up last year like people thought they was. But man, he is getting it done so far this year.
Yeah, he's making them pay, especially in the red zone, right? And I think that's always for the key for the running back, right? It doesn't matter if you can get the 175 yards. Can you be a weapon in the red zone, right? And I think that was a lot of people's concerns because everybody, in the preseason was talking about, hey, they drafted Tank Bigsby out of Auburn. Maybe he's going to steal those like red zone goal line opportunities. Right. It's not happening. Now we're seeing Etienne being involved in the passing game too, which I always think that was his role, right? I never thought he was a 25 carry guy. Like, no, he's a 20 to 25 touches guy. Like, get him involved in the running game and the passing game. And like you said, it's 3rd week in a row he scored 2 touchdowns plus. Like, he's been a machine and he's helped that offense, go.
Jaguars win the game last night. Saints make it as close as possible. You saw the Boo Birds were out heavy at the Dome last night. Sound like Philadelphia. You know what I'm saying? It sounded like Philadelphia in a playoff game. You know what I'm saying? With a 14-3 team. Nah. Yeah. I told you, bro. But the Bluebirds were out in New Orleans last night. And obviously the offense has been uninspiring. Man, bad body language from Chris Olave last night.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And that offense is just pretty much in shambles, right? When you can't score in the red zone with the playmakers they have, that's a philosophical problem, I believe, right? Derek Carr is not putting the ball in the end zone. Like, your best red zone option right now was Taysom Hill, and that's never a good thing. And like you said, Olave, he didn't show the best of body language on the field. Him and Derek Carr didn't connect on a couple of passes where Carr thought he was going this way,
or even with he quit on a couple of routes too. I hate to say that because I'm a big Chris Olave guy.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not going as well, I think, as Derek Carr and probably Saints fans thought it would go in year 1, with this new quarterback regime.
All right, yeah. Now, so just a quick update and recap of last night. Got a big game tonight. Gonna get to a good portion of the slate, touching on some of the key games, get your thoughts, you know what I'm saying? But I do want to single out football night in America. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm waiting all day for Sunday night. And we got the big one this weekend, Jovan. They're actually pretty good, you know what I'm saying? They get a pretty good matchup this week between the Philadelphia Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Miami Dolphins. Philadelphia laying, I think it was 2.5 or 3, something like that. At home. Philadelphia Eagles, obviously the favorites in this one right here. Heavy betting on the Miami Dolphins from some splits I'm looking at via DraftKings. Always be careful with these splits though, because most sports books are not going to give you their true back end. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Because you can really beat them up pretty good if you was to get reference to that information. So it's the kind of stuff they put out there. But, teasers and parlays, particularly money line parlays and stuff like that, sometimes they'll throw that information in there too. And then they kind of skew those numbers, right?
Mhm.
But, I'm seeing here where it's like almost 80% of the bets back in the Miami Dolphins. And obviously on sports betting, what you saw last is always key. And we just saw the Philadelphia Eagles lose to the Jets. And there's some people that's saying, oh, well, no, okay, well, this is evened out a little bit now. Miami's still coming in around 54%, but still making them a trendy underdog, right? And people say, okay, well, this is thought process that the Eagles offense hasn't looked that good this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the crazy part is that is true. But the crazy part is the stats, when you looked at the stats from this year to last year, at this time, they're really eerily similar, which is crazy because there hasn't been the same type of cohesiveness that we saw from the offense last year. Now, granted, that was Shane Steichen in year 2 under Shane Steichen's offense, running the show. Now you're into year 1 with Brian Johnson going from quarterback coach to now offensive coordinator, dialing up the plays. But I do agree with that. I think the offense hasn't had that same consistency. And I think it starts, number one, with, the running game. They haven't been, some games they've been like pound the ball. And we've seen the offense kind of look like itself, right? Even in the game against the Rams, like you thought like the offense would turn around, like Dallas Goedert's getting back into the offense. AJ Brown's making plays. DeAndre Swift is showing that, hey, like I can actually
Jim Brown.
Right.
He morphed into Jim Brown, Jovan.
Right. I mean, it's amazing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Detroit should have kept him. So you could see that, but then there's other games like what you saw with the Jets where they're throwing the ball, dropping back like 40, 45 times.
Kind of like the final years of Andy Reid, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I don't care what quarterback it is, right? Even if you're Patrick Mahomes, you're Herbert, you're Prescott, Hurts, don't matter. Like, you're not going to win many games in the NFL with your quarterback dropping back 40 times a game, and your offensive line is already beat up on the right side. Because remember, in that game, they lost Lane Johnson.
That's a big.
So now you got Now you got Jack Driscoll on an island on the right side, and that's not nothing but trouble. So if you don't adjust and run the ball to kind of eliminate that pressure, now you're forcing your quarterback to make plays and very uncharacteristic turnovers, because Jalen Hurts is, from what we saw from him throughout his early parts of his career, he's been more of a quarterback that doesn't take those risky throws where he'll just throw it out of bounds, live to fight another day. But this season, he's making those riskier throws, and I don't know what's the combination of. So yeah, the offense hasn't looked as consistent as it has last year.
Is Jalen Hurts throw 7 interceptions so far this year?
Yes,
that's a big number.
Yeah, I know. Career high.
Mm-hmm. You ever watch Micah Parsons' podcast on Bleacher Report?
I've seen the clips. You've
seen some clips talking about how there could be a, not fairness going on, because like when the Dallas Cowboys lose or Dak Prescott plays bad, it's the end of the world. But when it happens with other teams, it's Lane Johnson was hurt, or this guy wasn't there, or that guy wasn't there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, but Micah also got to think about this like too. You play for the Dallas Cowboys. You are the self-proclaimed America's team. Like, you're always going to get that attention because they know, like, Micah should know this. Like, it sells for TV ratings. Like, they want to hear about the Cowboys. Like,
clickbait.
Win, lose, or draw. If the Cowboys win, they still gonna find something to pick apart. Like, Dak probably should do this ball this way, or should have got this player involved a little bit more. It's just easy television fodder for the Cowboys. But he's not wrong. Like, do Dak get criticized sometimes when he shouldn't get criticized? Yeah, because I don't think people make Dak Prescott.
Well, I've been one of them.
Yeah, but yours is warranted. You're not just jumping out the window.
No, you got some jump out the window with this guy right here. It does get to that. I tell you what, I want to talk. I ran this past Stu yesterday. I want to get your opinion on it. A season-long decision I got. Then I want to get back to football night in America. Would you play Tyler Lockett or Puka Nacua? and a flex.
Ooh.
What up, Hal?
I would. It's so hard because it seems like ever since Cooper Kupp's come back, like Nacua has just been eliminated out of the passing game. I would lean towards Lockett just because I know people are concerned about the DK injury front right now, and this Cardinals secondary just has been getting lit up the last few weeks by the Rams, the Bengals, and the Niners. So I would lean towards Lockett just because he's a guy that if he gets behind the defense, he can get you one touchdown and you pretty much block.
Tyler Lockett has some go-off games himself, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, though, this wide receiver 2, one of the wide receivers I drafted on that team's not doing well is Devonta Smith. And it seems as if Smith, last year it was a lot of balance to the offense where the Hurts was able to support his fantasy numbers. Brown is just a monster, a Terrell Owens type player.
Yeah.
You can't really get away from him. But the Devonta Smith thing is interesting. Is Smith getting left behind in this offense? Is it maybe not as friendly as offense, friendly for Smith and the new offensive coordinator, or is it like this is a good time to buy low on Smith?
I think it's a good time to buy low on Smith because, granted, he hasn't scored, a touchdown since week 2 against Minnesota. He's still, in the last 3 games, he's at least gotten at least 9 targets twice over that span. So he's getting the targets. He's just not making the catches. Like in that Jets game where he had 5 for 44 and had 11 targets. Like the ball hit his hands like one where it was like, if he catches it, that's a big play going to middle field and he just drops it. So I think the opportunity is going to be there for him. And like you said, people might be down on him, but I just feel like we always even got to I think last year we was just like, I don't know if Devonta Smith's like going to like have that year, especially when you have AJ Brown, but he's known to have just, again, these big blow up games where he'll have 100 and a touchdown. So I wouldn't give up on Devonta Smith yet because I feel like teams are going to obviously try to slow down AJ Brown. And when you have that option, I think having Devonta Smith as a backup is always a great option to lean on.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Like I said, I think I would buy him too as well. You know what I'm saying? It's how it looks like it's going to be Brian Hoyer starting for the Raiders on Sunday. No, Smith. No, I don't believe Smith. It's Smith. I think Smith was on the injury report, but he's not hurt, right, Javon?
Yeah, he had the hamstring, but I think he said yesterday that he was
limited, right?
Yeah,
good. Good to go. All right. I ran the optimizer for Sunday Night Football. I'm curious of your thoughts on a couple of these lineups. These are the DraftKings with the captain in it, the single game lineup. Tua, Jeff Wilson, Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Swift, Tyreek Hill, Braxton Berrios. Interesting.
Braxton Berrios, that is interesting.
He's in this line. He's in a couple of these lineups.
Wow, Jeff Wilson. That's an interesting one because I don't think Wilson hasn't played yet, right? I think he just got his 21-day window open like last week or something like that. I mean,
it looked like his salary is $200.
Well, I can see why. I mean, that's risky, especially because this Eagles defensive line front 7 has been very good against the run this season. Like they've done their thing in stopping the run. Wilson, that's you're putting a lot of hope in a guy that haven't played yet against a stout defensive line that pretty much has been holding its own. So I don't know about Wilson. Swift, I think, is a good one just because we saw him, in addition to being in the running game, being used in the passing game too, as a threat out of the backfield. So I definitely think that helps. Hill, you can't go wrong. Tua, you can't go wrong. Berrios is the shocking one to me. That's the puzzling one because I don't think he's played a ton this season, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he's
that's
17 for 179 and a touchdown. Yeah.
I mean, this thing is getting really contrarian. You know what I'm saying?
That is super
this
contrarian.
Has Berrios in a couple of these lineups. Really, other than that, it's kind of like AJ Brown, DeAndre Swift, Dallas Goedert, Tua, You know what I'm saying? But Jeff Wilson and Berrios are really taking up a lot of this current build right here.
It's not a bad bill. Like you said, it's super contrarian, and like Hal is, mentioning, like at 200 for Wilson, at the goal line, that could be easy. That's easy. That's the easy way to get it, unless Raheem Mostert, is not still in the touchdowns, because he's what I think Mostert leads the league in touchdowns this season, just the way he's been playing. So it's super contrarian, but hey, sometimes that's the lineups that work, right? When you take chances on like a Wilson or a Berrios, you could get something, out of it. I don't think people are going to take a chance on, a Zacchaeus for the Eagles. I mean, he could be an option.
That's a good but no, I think that one right there has a little more validity to it. You know what I'm saying? So interesting. We'll run the full slate optimizer in just a bit. Want to go through a couple of the games right now. Let's start with this very interesting matchup in Baltimore between the Lions and the Ravens. This one opened up 2.5. Obviously, heavy betting. This is a game where the public didn't know what to do, because the public loved the Lions and the public loved the Ravens. So the public was like, which way do I go? But the public really loved the Lions. And you know what, Javon, to be honest with you, why not? I mean, I heard, what was it? The last 40 is 26-16 or 24-16. The last 18 is something like 15-3 or something like that. They are amazing enough versus the spread. And here they come in this week as a popular dog. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I might not lay the number. I think the game was within the field goal. I think it's a Justin Tucker game. But as far as for who is the guys, is it the main guys? Is it Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, St. Brown, Goff, and Laporta?
Yeah, I think those are the guys that I'll be looking for from a fantasy perspective. Like you said, Flowers, he finally scored his first touchdown last week, so that's a good sign for him, and he's been surprisingly, just
very consistent. You know what I'm saying? His over catches every week.
Oh yeah, he's been very consistent, and I don't think people notice like the red zone targets for the Ravens pass catchers. He's up there with Mark Andrews, so like Lamar is constantly seeking them out in the red zone, so that's always good stuff there. Like you said,
they finally drafted a wide receiver that fits what they like to do. Instead of getting guys like Deshaun Jackson who just run down the field, they got a player who works the middle of the field where Lamar likes to do his damage at.
Right, and that can kind of play off script a little bit. And when Lamar moves out the pocket, he knows where to find the zone and sit into. So yeah, I agree about that. Zay Jones, Flowers, Laporta. That's going to be a tough matchup for him because of the linebackers that he's going to be seeing. But, I mean, I'm going to be...
You'd rather have Andrews or Laporta this week?
Ooh. Andrews or Laporta. Both linebacking groups are really good. Really, really good. I'm going to lean towards Andrews. I'm going to lean towards the reliable guy and seeing, if Laporta blows up again, then so be it. If it happens, that's, if you have them, that's all you have. Because I know tight end's a little down this year in fantasy.
A little.
Laporta's all
a lot down.
If Laporta's all you have, then I would roll with it, just because he's a viable weapon in this offense.
Gets a ton of targets. You know what I'm saying? You got guys on the outside like Reynolds and guys like that. I mean, really, to me, the only Baltimore receiver, I'm not interested in Odell or Bateman or Aguilar. Those are the guys that you could take a shot with. You know what I'm saying? But what about Lamar? You think Lamar, like, when I look at quarterbacks for this week, I'm looking at like Matthew Stafford. I'm looking at like Pat Mahomes. I'll even come back with some Justin Herbert. I like a little bit of Jordan Love this week. You know what I'm saying? I think if you're really getting frisky, maybe you even throw a little Tyrod Taylor out there, because anybody can get it versus Washington. Obviously, Josh Allen is going to be highly ranked this week. Or do you think Lamar is a good option this week, or you like those other names better?
No, I think Lamar is a good option this week. I think overall, Lamar has been playing very good football this season. It's just that the numbers haven't, like, not even the numbers, the touchdowns haven't, come up for him this year. He is just so happy this, and I think that's just a microcosm of the Ravens red zone issues that we've seen, because Justin Tucker's been getting a lot of the work, through this opening week. But you got to like the way Lamar is playing. He's completed almost 70% of his passes in every game this season, except the Steelers one. And we know what happened in that game. Receivers are just dropping the ball. If they don't drop the ball, he has another good one. And we're starting to see Lamar, run a little bit more, which we didn't see earlier.
Exactly.
So
I think that's the key, because I think what Lamar does that Jalen Hurts can do and Josh Allen does as well, you know what I'm saying, is he can go hero ball. And in a game with a 3-point spread, I think we see some hero ball Lamar. You know what I'm saying? Where Lamar's like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and get this W myself. I can see that being the case in the second half, where Lamar could have 50, 60 rushing yards in the second half.
Oh, yeah, because, you look at the Ravens running game. Who are you trusting? Are you trusting Gus Edwards? Are you trusting Justice Hill?
Please don't trust J.K. Dobbins. I hate to say that about that young man. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he doesn't want to be in the situation he is in, but he is the torpedoed some fantasy seasons. You know what I'm saying? But do hope for the best for him. This situation with Cleveland, like Cleveland's about to get ready to go to 3.5. Like that number's about to switch. Nothing really big fantasy-wise there. Is maybe you want to do, they're not really against that Browns defense. You know what I'm saying? They're getting it done. Another fascinating one, the Commanders and the Giants. Like we saw that, like Desmond Ridder helped me win some money last week. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, no, I'm talking about DFS. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like why would you play Desmond Ridder? You know what I'm saying? Right. Because look at how terrible he is. But anybody can really get busy on the Washington Commanders defense. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, they
can. I think we can see the Giants get busy this week. You know what I mean? But who is it? Waller, Slayton, Hyatt. Where are we going for that production from the Giants, and how are we coming back with the Commanders?
Ooh, Giants. I would play Waller. I think what him and Tyrod showed a little bit last week, I think that's encouraging to see him actually involved in the offense. Granted it was, in a 2-minute situation, but I think what you saw from him, was encouraging. So I would lean there. Hyatt, I think, is another guy that, again, that can kind of stretch that field and hit on that big play. I like that more with Tyrod than I do with Daniel Jones. So I would kind of lean towards those two guys outside of, obviously, Saquon Barkley. Yeah. Like those would be my two guys.
I'm really a big Saquon Barkley guy, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, if the offense is going to do good, Saquon,
he has to get majority of the touches. Yeah,
I think there's better running backs on the main slate though. Bijan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Not Jahmyr Gibbs. James Cook
against the Patriots.
Yeah, I think I would go Saquon. Brian Robinson or Saquon. BRJ. Brian Robinson Jr. or Saquon.
Ooh. I would, and I'm not saying this because I have him on my fantasy team, but I do like the way Brian Robinson is running the ball just because of the volume he's getting. So it's like a slight lean towards B-Rob.
I like how it says target spread out so far in Washington. So Gibson has a punt. I like Gibson and you know what? I think Washington's going to lose the game. So I think you could see Sam Howell go into check down mode. I think the Giants blow them out though. I like Scary Terry, and I do think that I wouldn't go crazy on Gibson, but I think this is a high scoring game, to be honest with you. I think both teams get up and down the field and go back and forth. I probably would go BRJ over Saquon as well. I definitely would go Ken Walker over Saquon, correct?
Easily. You're taking Kenneth Walker over Barkley. Great matchup.
Eckler and Pacheco over Barkley?
Ooh, Pacheco. Yeah, I would take Pacheco just because he's not sharing snaps with nobody really there. Like McKinnon nor CEH doesn't threaten him in that backfield. I feel like.
And then not Javon. You would go Saquon Barkley over Javonte Williams, right?
Yeah. I don't trust nothing on that Broncos offense.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. You're just a smart guy. And then you would take him over the two Steelers running backs because Najee Harris can't. Yeah,
Najee Harris.
Run like Ezekiel Elliott. And then the Packers. What's up with Aaron Jones? Is he done for the year? Did he wrap it up? You know what I'm saying? Like I gave it a shot. Looks like we gonna be at the bottom of the North. I'm done. Is he supposed to be playing this week?
I think he is. I
It's kind
didn't
of
see anything. I didn't see anything that said that he wasn't going to play.
Yeah, he's been
I
kind of
think the
on and
hope that
off.
he is going
Yeah,
to play
the
because they had
practice
the
report.
bye week last week.
Yeah. So I think he's been in a little bit of trouble throughout the course of the week, but I find that interesting as well to see how those two teams can that shake out. Anything in Atlanta and Tampa interests you? I mean, the total is extremely low, but this is some division rivals. People like Bijan this week. Obviously, he hasn't had that go crazy game yet, but he's been pretty solid and consistent. And then you look at a guy like Mike Evans, who I think Mike Evans is always valuable.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Mike Evans. I think he had a quiet game last week against Detroit, but he was, I think, coming back off of an injury. I think he was limited with a hamstring, I think.
He
So
was
you can
banged up
never
with
go.
that hammy, yeah.
Yeah, you can never go wrong with him. Drake London might be an interesting play. I feel
Really?
like, yeah,
It seems like their passing weapons the past couple of weeks
are
man,
starting
let
to
me tell you
show up a
something.
little
If I
bit.
was to put Kyle Pitts in the lineup and he give me a 0, Jovan, I'm done. I've said I'm done before, but now I find myself itching closer to like Kyle Pitts. Like my finger is like, oh, wait, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, get off over there. Is it safe to click on Kyle Pitts' name? Am I going to get in on the trend, or is the trend over?
Double digit fantasy points last 2 weeks, and he's had 17 targets over that span. So it looks like things are starting to, like you said, go that direction. But do we trust number one, do we trust Desmond Ridder to move the ball against his Tampa Bay front seven?
The Falcons have lost, going back to last season, the Falcons have lost 7 straight road games.
Yeah, they're not that good.
Crazy.
Desmond Ridder very good at home though, but
yes, exactly. Except versus the Commanders. Interesting. I think Hal is actually very correct.
Jonnu has been very good.
His prop has hit every week too. His over has hit every week. Yep. So there you go. If you want to get on that, his prop hits every week. Jonnu Smith. He has really become a pretty important part of that passing game. You like both? You in on Marquise Brown this week, Hollywood?
I mean, they don't have a ton of good wide receivers.
Right?
So
Yeah.
you got to go him. Michael Wilson would be somebody else I would keep an eye on, but he's a rookie, so you don't know like what you're going to get. And in a game where I think Seattle's 7.5
point favorites.
Point favorites. That could be a spot where we see a lot of throwing for Dobbs. So yeah, if I had to take somebody, I'm taking Hollywood, which I'm surprised a lot of people didn't draft him high.
Yeah, but his target share is unbelievable. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, it didn't hit me until you know how that is when you're drafting. You just go Arizona Cardinals. They're gonna score 10 points all season, and then it kind of slips your mind that wait a minute, who are they gonna throw the ball to? And it's going to be a lot of Hollywood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you gotta. And I think that people forget there's bad teams, but there's always going to be good players on bad teams that will get you the fantasy points that you need, like a Hollywood Brown.
How you feel about Christian Watson this week? Packers, Christian Watson and Jordan Love, honestly, Packers taking on the tanking Denver Broncos.
Listen, if the Packers can't get it done against the Broncos, then we got some serious problems because that Broncos team isn't good. I think the Packers wide receiving unit as a whole, I think, could be very good this week. I think Watson should be able to play well. I think I love Jayden Reed this week too. I think, after a quiet game by him, I think he could, I think he could find his way. I think all the receivers could do good. It's just for Jordan Love. Can he not turn over the football? If he doesn't turn over the football, play the clean game, they should be all right.
My man George Cook down there in the chat wants to know flex Christian Watson, Devontae Adams, or JT. I guess JT is Jonathan Taylor. I would go Devontae Adams. You just that squeaky oil gets, I don't know what they
squeaky wheel gets
the oil. Yeah, squeaky wheel gets the oil. You know what I'm saying? And Devontae's been the squeaky wheel this week.
Yeah, I mean, even with Brian Hoyer, you got to expect it doesn't matter who the Raiders have at quarterback. You're
They
just going to
should
pepper the
throw the
ball
ball to Devonta Adams
against this Bears defense, which still
Yeah.
hasn't improved. So
Yeah.
I would lean towards Devontae too. That's a
Huh.
guy that you don't
don't really fool around with
pass down.
Devonta Adams too much. If he's healthy, he goes out there. You know what I'm saying? Start your studs is the old school mantra that we used to say back in the day. Let me see. Go ahead and hit this main slate for Sunday. Get some of your thoughts on the Contrarian Edge Optimizer. You can hit that QR code right there to take you right to the Contrarian Edge Optimizer. You can test drive it for 7 days, get through a full week of football for $1. And then after that, select the price package of your liking. Go ahead and run the generator right now, run the optimizer right now. Oh, God, this second one is going to blow your mind, son. How terrible the quarterback is. It's going to blow your mind. The first one, Pat Mahomes, Isaiah Pacheco, Jerome Ford. Interesting. What do you think about Jerome Ford?
Ooh. He hasn't been
I'm a Jerome Ford guy, but the Hunt thing is a problem.
Yeah, just because Hunt can steal those snaps and he is that more viable pass catcher.
Yeah.
Out of the backfield, which has always been his MO, even when Nick Chubb was there. It's like, hey, you can depend on Kareem Hunt to get a couple catches in 10 carries a game. Like, so you always gotta look at that there. But you just look at the Colts, they're giving up 113 on the ground and they're 21st against running backs. I mean, what he did, I think Ford did against the Niners last week with 84 for 17. That shows me a little bit something, because that Niners defense isn't a slouch, especially in that front end. And I think again, for guys like him, if he gets the volume, if he can get those 15 to 17 carries, I think he's definitely worth a start at 51,000 on DraftKings on salary. So there's probably no better options at that point at that salary.
Like I said, it's not really a great running back week. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I can look at Jerome Ford. I like this lineup though. Mahomes, Pacheco, Ford, Keenan Allen, who is obviously always a play. Terry McLaurin. We talked about that game between Washington and New York. Marquise Brown, who we mentioned. David Njoku, Mark Andrews. You go double tight end. We mentioned Mark Andrews. That's this lineup right here. I like that lineup.
I like that line too. I think you get a little bit of everything, right? You get your high ends, you get your high end players, and then you get your low end guys, like you said, the Hollywood Browns, who, kind of falling under the radar, but they're still going to get you the points just because the targets. And McLaurin's just going to get the targets too from Sam Howell. He's going to look his way multiple times in the game.
Lineup number 2: Mac Jones, Zach Evans, Gus Edwards, Keenan Allen, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Kendrick Bourne. This is a contrarian optimizer. Kendrick Bourne. You got the Mac Jones Kendrick Bourne stack. Listen, I would play a couple naked Kendrick Bournes though. He's the target monster. You know what I'm saying? The team probably be down 30 by the time they get to the second quarter. So right it quick again: Mac Jones, Zach Evans, Gus Edwards, Allen, St. Brown, Kendrick Bourne, Travis Kelce, Wan'Dale Robinson. Commanders defense. I think this is outside of the Jones. I don't like Jones and I don't like Gus Edwards. I think Gus Edwards is not inspiring at all. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like Gus Edwards is not going to give you 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, Gus Edwards is like 3 clouds in the dust on the ground, so he's not giving you anything. Zach Evans is a very interesting one too, and I know a lot of people have been talking about him this week as he could be the guy that kind of steps into that RB1 role with both Ronnie Rivers and Kyron Williams out, but I don't know. Like, if we don't
Cup.
Yeah, I'm about to say I can't trust Sean McVay to lean on him, or is he going to go to Myles Gaskin, or is he going to go to Darrell Henderson, who just rejoined the team? So Zach Evans, I can't necessarily go all in with him this week.
Matthew Stafford, Ken Walker, Brian Robinson Jr., Stephon Diggs, Jacoby Myers, Curtis Samuel, Mark Andrews, Nelson Aguilar, the Ravens defense. I love this.
Run that lineup back again to me, because that did sound pretty good, actually.
Matthew Stafford, Ken Walker, Brian Robinson, Stephon Diggs, Jacoby Myers, Curtis Samuel, Mark Andrews and Mark Jackson. Hand down, man down. Mama, there goes that man again. No, I mean Mark Andrews, excuse me. Nelson Aguilar and the Ravens defense.
No, I like that lineup a lot, especially Jacoby Myers. I feel like Myers has gone under the radar too in fantasy. Like, he's been, even though Raiders quarterback play hasn't been great with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's just been another guy that's just you can count on him to at least get you like 5 catches and 50 yards like almost every week. So I definitely like that. And Stafford, he's healthy and he has his full complement of receivers. I definitely like that too.
Yep, Stafford is a player that I'm going to have. I did a draft on Underdog. I was tossing and turning last night, Jovan, full disclosure. And I was like, well, since I'm up, I don't know why I couldn't sleep. You know what I'm saying? But I just grabbed the computer and did a draft. All right, final one right here. Josh Dobbs, Josh Jacobs, Jerome Ford. Again, the optimizer likes Jerome Ford this week. Amari Cooper, Cortland Sutton. I'm not playing no Broncos. Cortland Sutton, Wan'Dale Robinson. Interesting. Travis Kelce, Ramondre Stevenson. He's not getting nowhere near my lineups. Wan'Dale, it's got to be a giant wide receiver. Is it Slayton, Wan'Dale, or Hyatt?
I feel like Wan'Dale could be that guy. I think they get the most volume because I feel like Slayton and Hyatt feel like almost the same type of wide receivers.
Yeah,
stretch the field, pick up the big pass and play. So I think it's Wan'Dale. Like we said, Jerome Ford seems like the move this week, so you can't go wrong with Jerome Ford. I know Hal said what's his line for 2 TDs. DraftKings has him at plus 550 for 2 TDs for Jerome Ford. So you might, definitely something like that. And Josh Dobbs is another interesting one. He's he's not a guy that's going to put up a
3
ton
touchdowns
of yards. I mean, hey, it's not impossible because the Seahawks do allow 6 quarterbacks to complete 68.5 of their passes, and they are giving up the 5th most passing yards this season. So if Josh Dobbs take care of the football, he could be a sneaky play because he does. Even though the Cardinals been bad, he's done solid enough to kind of keep the ball moving up and down the field.
He won't embarrass you, especially if you take a shot right there at that price point right there. All right, that's my man Jovan Alford. You know what I'm saying? Hit him up. You follow him right here. His work, sportstopia.io. You see his Twitter handle right there. Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. Good luck, everybody, this weekend. Don't forget sportstopia.io and the Contrarian Edge Optimizer. We may not be with you till next week, but that right there is how you get in touch with us. For Jovan, is Corey Parson, fantasy executive. We are out.